right, guys, so in this video, we'll be talking about probably one of the questions that I get asked more than anything, which is this: Shane, can you walk me through everything involved in a water damage restoration project? Who does what first? Who answers the phone? When do you sign? When do you go out? Who does this? Who does that? I'm going to be walking you through all the big milestones, all the primary objectives on a water damage restoration project in this video. What are the 7 primary activities? What are the 4 key objectives? We'll be covering all of it today. If you own a restoration company, I can promise you this: you do not want to miss this video. Let's go. So this is going to be something that I also refer to as caveman restoration, okay? I'm going to be walking you through literally when the phone rings, who answers it, what do you do? You're going to freaking love this training. Okay, so there are what I call 7 primary activities, if you can see this, and there's 4 key objectives, okay? And here's how I break this down on a restoration project. Get job, do job, build job, collect job, okay? Like at its most simple form, at its most basic element, these are the 4 things that you're going to get done on every single job. You got to get the job, you got to do the job, bill it, and collect it. And here's what I kind of found to be true. As I was trying to grow and scale my own restoration company, I would get really deep in the weeds and it would affect my workflow, okay? We'd start to get clumsy and complicated and all hell was breaking loose. And here's what would happen. We would have a CAT situation or a CAT event. By CAT, I mean catastrophic. A big storm, a tornado blows through town, a hurricane, frozen pipe situation specifically is probably the best example because we didn't do a lot of storm work. I did a lot of frozen pipes. But that's a CAT event, okay? And here's what I can tell you. We always want to be thorough in what we do with our restoration projects, right? But that being said, sometimes you can't be as thorough in some jobs as you can on others, partly because if you're in the middle of a CAT event, dude, and you'll know this if you've ever been through a CAT event, all hell's breaking loose and you're doing just the basic stuff you could do to get the job, do the job, bill it, and collect it. And that's why I reduced it down like this. It's the whole idea of reducing a job to its most simple form, the lowest common denominator. Because if you really want to understand a restoration project, what are the lowest common denominator? What are the 4 things you got to do on literally every single project? Because not every project is going to have all the other ancillary things like pack out, okay, or asbestos or environmental concerns, but they are going to have these 4 things. Get the job, do the job, build the job, and collect the job. And these are milestones, guys. These are objectives. And if all 4 of these things happen on your project, I'm going to ask you a question. What's the problem? If you can get the job, do it, bill it, and collect it, so you can get it, do it, bill it, and collect it, and get paid, what's the problem? And no, I don't have customer service in here, and here's the reason why. I'm already assuming that you're doing a quality job. I'm already assuming that you're doing a quality job. And then secondly, if you do a bad job, I can promise you, guess what? Step 4 won't happen. You will not collect. You will not get paid because if you piss them off, you won't get paid, okay? So get the job, do the job, build a job, and collect job. Those are the 4 things. That's what you have to do. If nothing else, those are the 4 things. Caveman restoration. Get, do, build, collect. Me, Shane. Me, contractor. Me, figure this out, okay? That's what I say. And y'all hear me speak Spanish? I speak about like a caveman, okay? I don't conjugate my verbs. But get job, do job, build job, collect job. Let's dive in a little bit. Let's go into get job. So there are 3 things that are involved in getting a job. You've got the call, you've got the intake, and the initial response, okay? Call, intake, and initial response. So let's look at the call. Who and what? This is how I break this down. Who and what? Who? This is going to be the receptionist or your office administrator. Maybe it could even be you as the owner, okay? But if you're a bigger company, it's going to go from you, the owner, maybe going to a project manager, all right? Someone that knows and understands that. So from you, maybe to a project manager. Then you're going to send it to the office, right? To maybe an office administrator, office manager, or maybe a receptionist. Ultimately, you want to be able to send it to a receptionist once you've got everything nailed down. But that's where the call. And what is the objective for the call? If you notice, I got this thing right here. Set the appointment. Like once you scale this out and you've got someone in the office fielding the call, they have one objective: to set the appointment, okay? Now notice, I did not say that their job is to qualify. We as owners, a lot of times, if we're fielding the call, we know what to look for, so we will try to qualify the customer over the phone so we don't waste our time. But I will tell you this, that winds up being a bit of a mistake because a lot of times the customer that's calling you doesn't know what they have, doesn't know what they need. And I'm telling you this as the owner, okay? If you try to qualify that job too much, number one, they don't know what they have. I've told so many times this story, how someone called, and we always ask 2 questions. What's your name? How'd you hear about us? What's your name? How did you hear about us? And you always want to know how'd you hear about us, because if you don't know how did you hear about us, here's what can happen. Someone called our business and they said something. So I was just in the other room and they said, thank you for calling, whatever. And no, we don't do that. Click, hang up. I was like, what'd they want? She goes, something we don't do. I was like, well, how'd they hear about us? Oh, I don't know. I didn't ask. Well, why didn't you ask? Because we don't do it. Well, what'd they want? They want to know if we do popcorn ceilings. True story. They called looking for popcorn ceiling repair. That's what they said. And if you don't ask, how did you hear about us? You won't find out the rest of the story. Turns out, I called them back. I was like, oh, down back. Yeah, hey, this is Shane. Sorry, I forgot. How did you hear about us again? Oh, I heard about you from my plumber. Okay, great. And who's your plumber? I got David here. All right, and who's David with? Dave's with Benjamin Franklin Plumbing. Okay, great. And why is Benjamin Franklin Plumbing at your house? Because they had to cut a hole in the ceiling. Okay, why'd they cut a hole in the ceiling? And do you understand? This person went on and on. I swear to God, and it went cut a hole in the ceiling because they had to access a valve. Why'd they have to access the valve? Because it was leaking. They had a water damage leak, and we're talking a $14,000, $15,000 job showed up as. Do you do popcorn ceilings? We do a lot of things for a lot of different people. What's your name? How'd you hear about us? I mean, that's it. Every single time. So word to the wise. That's a bit of an ADD moment, but I'm just telling you, if you're the owner, you don't find out how did you hear about us, you will run right past that and you will lose thousands and thousands of dollars, okay? So, but let's scale this out to a company that's got, 5 to 10 people working for you. You got somebody in the office. Whoever's answering that phone, their job is to set the appointment, okay? So, who? The receptionist, office administrator. What do they do? Number 1, field the call. Field the call, answer it. Number 2, is this going to be new business or not new business? Okay? So if they say, do you do X? We do a lot of things for a lot of different people, if you don't mind. How did you hear about us? This is funny. I mean, I wrote this thing probably 10 years ago, by the way, okay? Is this new business? Is it not new business? Okay. Now, I didn't put this here, but if it's not new business, right, it's either going to be a warranty or it's going to be a solicitation of some sort. So I'm going to break away and let me give you a good way to screen a solicitation, because I did not like people knocking on my door. Hey, boss. Do you want to talk to blah, blah, blah? They're solicitors. So here's what you need to teach your lady or your guy at the front desk. Okay, there's a series of questions. I'm going to think if I can remember these off the top of my head. When they say, hey, I need to talk to Shane or the owner, just because they know my name doesn't mean that they need to talk to me. Could be a good salesperson. So here's what you're going to ask them every single time. Make sure that whoever's answering the phone watches this and learns it. Number 1, what is your name? Number 2, who are you with? Like if they're a company, they're going to state, I'm Billy Bob. Okay, Billy Bob. And who are you with? And if they're with the company, they're going to tell you right then and there. What's your name? Who are you with? All right. Number 3, what is this regarding? What is your name? Who are you with? What is this regarding? And then they can take a little note. After what is this regarding? Is he expecting your call? So those are 4 questions. You got, what is your name? Who are you with? What is this regarding? Is he expecting your call? And if they don't pass all 4 of those, do not knock on my door. Do not interrupt me. Do not email me. Do not call me, because I don't even want to know who it is, because I don't care. Take a note and don't knock on my door. Don't hand me the note. Don't let them do that. Don't let them take your attention, okay? Ask those 4 questions. What's your name? Who are you with? What's this regarding? Is he expecting your call? And if answer is yes to all those, then you can direct that. Otherwise, take a message, probably throw it in the trash. There you go, off the soapbox. So number 1, field the call. Number 2, is it new business, yes or no? And then number 3, determine the referral source. How did you hear about us? Every single time, okay? Now, we do qualify the caller at some point, which is this. There's 2 questions we would ask. Is this a home or is this a business? Okay, and are you the owner? And the reason why home or business matters, because if it's a business and they're the owner, what are they the owner of? The business or the building? Because we don't want to respond. We don't work for renters, okay? And if you own the business but you rent the building, you are a what? A renter. And that is a cash job. You need the building owner to sign your work authorization, ladies and gentlemen, okay? You need the building owner to sign your work authorization. Otherwise, it's a cash job, right? And it needs to be, I'm just telling you. So home or business, because when they say, yes, this is for a home, and then they say they're the owner, now I'm feeling pretty good. But we want to respond, and we want to know that we're talking to the decision maker. They're on site and they can sign our contract. And if they're not, then we want to get a hold of them, okay? Qualify the caller. Oh, you're qualifying. You're not qualifying, is it wet or any of that. Notice, I just said our only qualification is this for a home or business? And are you the owner? And if they're not the owner of the building or not the owner of the home, then get their information and go call the building owner, the property owner, and it may need to go to a project manager at that point, okay? And if so, if all those things, boom, book the appointment. From right there, you can book the appointment, okay? As a matter of fact, I want to walk you through our intake form. Bear with me just a second. Okay, so this is the actual intake form that we would use. And so we do a lot of things for a lot of different people. If you don't mind, let me get your name and number and let's get started. So first thing, first name, right there, Mickey. Last name, Mouse. Phone number, email, we're gonna put all that. How did you hear about us? And we track 3 things, okay? On a referral source, it's either organic, like Google Maps, or it's going to be a referral partner. Maybe it's a plumber or an insurance agent, or maybe it's paid advertising, 33-mile radius, Google AdWords, local service ads. So it's either organic. They heard about you, like it did. If it didn't come from a referral partner and it didn't come from paid advertising, it's organic. Okay, word of mouth, organic. Referral partner, that's going to be basically a company where you're tracking that stuff. So you want to track every single one of those. And then the referral company, you always want to have your referral companies listed as a single select option. And notice I've got 33-mile radius, water, plumbing, Facebook ads, Google AdWords, Microsoft Bing. Yep, they do AdWords too. Well, they do some type of paid ad, pay-per clicks, so you can use those. Previous customer, word of mouth, not yet listed. So make sure you select one of those in every single situation. So this one's going to be from 33-mile radius water. And customer type, is this for a home or a business? Structure type, I always like to know this because if it's a condo, I would like to know because we like to work on single family residences the best. So I like that. And so anyway, so once you get in here, like, all right, so is this for a home or business? All right, great. And so is this going to be for what type of structure is this? Is it an apartment, a townhome, condominium, mobile home, single family residence? And you say it that way because you want them to say it's a single family residence. A house does not work. What's a house mean? Okay. So what type of structure is it? Apartment, townhome, condo, mobile home, single family residence. And by the time you get there, they're going to state it. Okay. And you get your address, fill that out, your city, your state, postal code, etc. All right, ma'am, and what is your relationship to the property? Owner, renter, tenant, you want to know this. And we want to deal with the owner right there, bro. Right there, the owner. All right? Now notice, we have not asked them, is the water, we haven't even asked them what's going on yet. We have not asked them that. And this is really important because if you're not working from a proper intake form like this, you're going to start talking about what's going on and you didn't gather any of this information. I'm telling you, I know because I've responded to renter jobs myself. Once they told me it was in Laurelbrook and it was a 5,800 square foot house, I started seeing dollar signs and we ran all the way out there. Guess what? People will rent a 5,800 square foot house too. And then we wound up not even getting that job because once they called the homeowner and they sent a green truck out there because he called the agent. I'm telling you this, make sure you're dealing with the property owner. Don't go off the address. Just notice that we put all that at the bottom. So what type of water is it? Water. That's going to be a water job. Now notice we put water free dry out as a job type because if you do free dry outs and plumbers, you want to select that because you're going to mitigate a free dry down different than a regular water job. And if you don't know why, you probably won't keep plumbers very long. So you better reach out to me and let me know. Go to workwithshane.com, book a 15-minute call. We can tell you about that. We help you get plumbers. Okay, that's kind of what my business does. We help you build referral trees with plumbers, and getting plumbers is easy. Keeping them is a little different story. You got to track stuff like this. And once you get down to all of that, only here can you enter some notes about the job. And then you hit submit, and then boom, it's done. Okay, so this is the proper intake form. That's it, okay? Book the appointment. Now, one other thing I'm gonna tell you is very important about booking the appointment. Most of you guys won't book the appointment. You'll say, okay, we're gonna call you back what time we get out there. Wrong, wrong, wrong. Do not tell them you're gonna call them back. Book the appointment. Here's how you do it. All right, Miss Jones, so, and what's going on? Okay, so you've got water, or you think you got water? Okay, great. All right, here's how you ask for it. All right, ma'am, I got all your information here. When is a good time for us to come out? Just ask, when is a good time to come out? And then whatever time Miss Jones says, plug that in and book it. Book it, okay? Now, I know you might not be able to go out there. That's fine. But whoever's booking this call, that is their objective, to book it when the homeowner wants it. If you don't book it then, I'm telling you what's eventually going to happen is you're going to call them back and you won't get them on the phone. Because once they get that water up off the floor, once that water quits dripping from the ceiling, they stop freaking out. And when they stop freaking out, they don't want you, they don't need you, they don't want to pay you, they ain't thinking insurance yet. And by the way, don't ever mention insurance. Don't ever, ever, ever mention insurance on this initial call. You have no idea if it's an insurance thing. If they knew it was going to be insurance, they probably would have called their agent or State Farm and not you. And if they think insurance suddenly because you ran your fat mouth, they're going to call their agent, and then their agent, when you get there, will have a green truck sitting in the driveway and you lost that job. Ask me how I know, okay? Never mention insurance on the phone. All right. Miss Jones, when's a good time to come out? And then you book the time, right then you go out. Now, if you can't make that time, that's completely understandable. Here's what you do in that case. You book it, and then your project manager or whoever else is going to be responding, the first responder, it's up to them to reschedule their day or talk to that person in more detail to see if they can come out sooner or later or whatever else. But the big key right there, what time is good for you, and book it right then. Okay. And if they say, how soon can you get there? We are on our way. We're on our way right now. Right now, okay? So, hopefully that's helpful. So, the next thing we want to look at is this, the intake form. We kind of already looked at it, right? So, what are they there to do? So, this is normally going to be the coordinator, maybe the receptionist, or it depends on who's going to fill it out. There might be a world where your receptionist fills it out and then passes it to the coordinator. For us, the coordinator answered the phone. All right. So, but their responsibility here is to find out, is this water or not, right? If it turns out that it's mold, or they report that it's mold, I ask them, have you recently had a leak? Like if they've had a leak recently, I don't report that job as mold. I report it as water because it's probably going to be a water job with mold on it. Okay. I'm just telling you. So if it's mold, just make sure it's not wet. Just make sure it's not wet. Okay. So, but anyway, what makes you think you've got mold? This is about the only way that I would triage that. Can you see mold? Because if they can't see mold, they probably don't have mold, okay? Has it been wet recently? Have you had a leak recently? If these answers are yes, I'm gonna list that thing as a water job. The goal is to see if they've had, here's the deal. A lot of times a water job will be reported as a mold job, and we want water jobs, right? We want water jobs. Well, this could be a water job reported as mold or as popcorn ceilings, as we've talked about that earlier. So that's why we're going to ask these questions, okay? If it appears to be water, make it a water loss. If it appears to be mold, not water, then, have them go out. So if it's a mold job, we might schedule that out if we know it hasn't been wet. But if we just know that it's mold, but again, just book the appointment and let them get out there, okay? There's 3 options in terms of triaging. It's either emergency, wet, or not sure, okay? If it's an emergency job, you got to go now. It can be the first person out the door in your shirt. It can be your marketing rep. It can be a sales rep. It could be anybody that has a shirt on for you. Literally, it could be someone that doesn't even work for you. Because here's the deal. That person's freaking out because those are really big water jobs, and that's an emergency job. And you'll know one when you hear one because they'll be screaming at you through the phone, right? Yes, ma'am, we're on our way. I just need to get a little information from you, and we are there, okay? It's going to be fine. You have to calm them down and rein them in, okay? And the emergency jobs are good, but you'll know one when you feel one, okay? So, but there's no sales required, so you can send anybody out there. Wet, you go now. You send your first sales asset, okay? And we call those first responders because they may be sales guys, it may be a technician. Whoever's going out there first is a first responder. That's the biggest thing that you need to know, okay? And you're going to dispatch assets. The next thing on the initial response, this is where I put the first responder. It can be a project manager or a lead technician. Doesn't even really matter. Their job is to secure the job. Price it if needed, depending on what your workflow is. But these are the first things involved. Get the call, complete the intake form, and your initial response. Your first responder will go out there and their job is to sign the job. Okay? That's got get job down. Now, let's look at do the job. On do job, we got perform work, okay? And this one's really simple. Like, I spend more time on getting the job, billing and collecting. Doing the job is really simple. It's wet, get it dry. That's all you got to do. Who's going to do it? The lead tech, responsibility, perform all work done. That's it. That's all you got to worry about. I don't go into more detail than that because it doesn't really matter. Each job is going to be a little bit different. When it comes to doing the job, whatever the job entails, do that. Do that, okay? Most people try to overthink everything that they're doing. They want processes for pack outs. They want processes for lead-based paint testing. They want processes for all of these things. Like, dude, all that's fine, okay? Your job is to do the job. And if there's asbestos in front of it, then your project manager's job is to find a way to get that asbestos out of there and do not lose that water job. That's what we're doing here, okay? Project manager job. Get the job, do the job, okay? Do it. Whatever's in the way, take care of it. I can give you a process for that later, but you don't have to do that on every single job. That's why I go back to, this is caveman restoration. Get, do, bill, collect. Do the job. Whatever's involved, do it. Now, billing and collecting can change a little bit because there's a chance that you need to write an estimate up here, depending on what type of job it is. But that's why I say get, do, bill, collect. If you can get it and you can do it and you can bill it and you can collect it, who cares about the order? But when it comes to billing the job, this can get a little wonky because you've got estimating and billing and you've got invoicing and collecting, okay? You can do it different ways depending on how you run your company, okay? But if you're gonna do estimating, your estimator or your project manager can write your estimate. Some guys might have a project lead. I've heard different terms. You've heard project managers, a write and run project manager. They'll write the estimate and run the project. The write and run project manager description usually runs more through reconstruction than it does in water damage because like one guy runs the entire project and he's overseeing subcontractors. When you get into water mitigation and you're booking multiple trips, for me, the project manager, depending on how you're gonna run your company, one project manager might oversee 2 or 3 trucks and he's doing all those. And that's probably going to be you as the owner for a while, okay? Like it's going to be you, you're going to be everything, and then you're going to take off some of these hats. You're going to take off the lead technician role, you're going to get out of the truck totally, and then you're going to be the project manager, and then maybe somebody will go sign the job other than you. Like you'll see where you'll start breaking it up, okay? But sometimes you will have a sales guy to sign the job. You might have, I'll call a siloed project manager, right? One project manager is going to go out there, he's going to sign the job, he's going to write it, and he's going to turn it over into production potentially, right? And there might you've heard the term a production manager. That might be where the guy signs it and he writes the estimate, then he turns that estimate into the production manager, and the production manager is there responsible to make sure that job gets done. So the project manager is there to make sure that the project gets started, and if there's a problem, you can hand it back to the project manager, okay? Because he's familiar with it. But once he's got it signed and he's got it started and it's all scoped out, a production manager might be able to help him facilitate that from there, okay? But again, we're getting into the weeds a little bit. Remember, get, do, bill, collect. Just know this, when you're estimator or billing, it's usually gonna be an estimator or a project manager. Write the invoice, write the estimate, negotiate the project or the bill, okay? And if you're gonna do invoicing and collections, who's doing this? Estimator, project manager, or the coordinator can do it, right? In the world where you're taking the estimate and converting it to invoice, that's just flipping it in QuickBooks, so there's nothing there, but it could be any one of these. Estimator, project manager, or a coordinator. Responsibility: confirm the invoice is received and approved, defend or justify any questioning, confirm how much your receivables should be looking to collect. Like you may decide to negotiate something down, which that brings us right back into billing and invoicing, and billing is negotiation. So who can handle this? Project manager, could be your estimator, could be your coordinator. I would like, the way that we ultimately simplified this is we allowed whoever answered the phone to our coordinator or whatever. If they had a question about a claim, I wouldn't necessarily send it back to a project manager. If the job was done, we would open it up and we would get that person, our coordinator, to try and get them to start talking money and just say, hey, if you've got problems, you're trying to take something off the bill, we'd be willing to work with them. But she was only authorized to take off up to 10%. So they'd normally want half. So we'd say, hey, I'd love to be able to help you. We can work with you, but I'm only authorized to take off 10%. I'm at $9,800. Okay, well, let's take 10,000 because I can do 10% a little easier. I'm only we're at 10,000 bucks. I can only take off 1,000. Okay, you're at 7,100 bucks. Can you come up to 9,000? I can close this out right now today. And I'm telling you, if you make them that offer, half the time they'll take that. I'm just telling you. So, and even if you own the company, don't tell them you own the company. Just tell them it's above your pay grade. You'd love to be able to do it. Maybe you got shareholders. Just don't tell them. Say, hey, I can only do this. Will you do it? Okay. So predetermined discount, 10%, reach the agreement. If you don't reach the agreement, yeah, like I don't do that anymore either. Okay. So just know this, you want to be able to simplify it so that whenever they call, somebody can offer a discount, empower your team, and boom, once they've done that, they can make a note and then your AR can reduce it. Okay. So you can notice the billing can be a little bit more complicated, steps 5 and 6. All right. And collecting the job, receivables. Who can do this? The coordinator. Responsibility, follow up on the timely collection of a payment, okay? So for us, we would have a pipeline. We did a 24-hour call and a 48-hour call for any jobs in operations, okay? Make sure we didn't piss them off and we could diffuse the situation. But after that, we would do weekly financial calls. And like, you just need to have a recurring task where you sit down, you follow up with all the jobs in your pipeline, and we ran them in pipelines, okay? We can show you how to do it. If you guys want me to show you how to do it in the software we use, drop a comment down below and I'll let you know, okay? But just know this, you want to be able to simplify the jobs so that you're doing the same thing each and every time. Get it, do it, bill it, collect it. So whoever writes it, let them write it. But whenever someone calls with a problem or a question, empower your team to offer a % discount and boom, close the sucker out. And then if it doesn't, you need to have somebody, preferably your coordinator, calling. They'll own a list of jobs, or they'll own a list of opportunities, or whatever you want to call your projects. They're going to own that list, and they're going to call each week, and boom, they're going to try and say, hey, where do we stand on this thing? Now, I've got another video that I can do for you about a receivables process. It will take an entire new training to go through that. If you want me to show you that, I can walk you through that as well. It's part of our claim control method. The same way that this is get, do, bill, collect, you're going to have a series of steps and milestones that will be involved in a communication schedule and in your receivables process. And most of you guys simply don't have a receivables process. And if you do, it's not typed up and clearly spelled out where everybody at your company and your team can go pull it and see it, because they have to know it so they can talk to your customer about it. So you got to have a process, number one. You have to communicate it to your team, number two, and allow your team to communicate it to your customer, number three. So if you want to know more about this, drop a comment and let me know. If you want us to explain some of this to you, you want us to help you deploy this stuff in your company, go to workwithshane.com. Hopefully that's helpful. If you have any questions, comment down below. We'll see you guys in the next video. If you guys enjoyed that video, I've got 3 things for you. First off, there's a couple of other videos somewhere on the screen. You can click those now to go watch more content about growing your restoration company. Number 2, if you haven't already subscribed, click my face below and that will subscribe you to the channel. And finally, if you would like for me to help you grow your restoration company, go to workwithshane.com, put in your information, and let's get on a 15-minute call. We'll see you then.